All right, hello everyone. Welcome to class. Today I will be giving a quick lecture on the Earth's spheres. All right, so here we go. The first sphere of the Earth that we're going to talk about is the lithosphere. This is a fancy name for the land on the Earth. So all the continents, anything you can walk on. The lithosphere is solid, and that makes sense because you can walk on it. Regarding the elements, the two main elements that are in the lithosphere, if you were to start breaking up most of the rock on the planet, is going to be mostly silicon and oxygen, which are two elements on the periodic table. They're the most popular ones. Sorry. Now, in terms of parts, there are two types of crust on the planet. We have continental crust, which is what the continents are made of. Continental crust is made of granite, like in your kitchen countertop maybe. It's mostly granite, and it's not very dense. Oceanic crust, on the other hand, is very, very thin, which is the opposite of the continental crust. Because continental crust is very thick, so these are like opposites here, thick and thin. Continental crust is made up of granite as opposed to oceanic crust being made of basalt, and continental is not very dense while the oceanic crust is very dense. Oceanic crust, now the idea here is that since the oceanic crust is more dense, it's going to go underneath the continental crust. So when they hit each other, so a continent is hitting into the oceanic floor, and the oceanic floor has no choice but to go underneath because it's more dense, and then eventually it melts and comes up and makes some volcanoes. The next sphere of the Earth is the hydrosphere. This is just all the water on the planet. So there's a lot of water on Earth. So this is all the oceans, the lakes, the glaciers, the rivers, all water. Excuse me. The next layer is the atmosphere. So this is all the gases in the sky and everything we breathe. The atmosphere has 4 different layers in itself, so they're like sublayers. So the sky has 4 layers. Most of the atmosphere is nitrogen. A lot of people think it's mostly oxygen, but if you look at the breakdown, it's actually mostly nitrogen. In terms of the 4 layers in the sky, if you were to start down here in the troposphere, which is the bottom layer, it gets cold in the troposphere as you go up. And then when you hit the stratosphere, which is the second layer, it starts to get warm. And then you hit the 3rd layer, the mesosphere, starts to get cold again. And then the thermosphere starts to get warm. So we know when the boundaries change based on where the temperature is headed, and that is shown here. So it's starting to get warm, then cold, then warm. And that's how we know the different layers. If it's getting colder and then it switches to getting warm, we know we've entered the next layer. All right, so now we're going to go into the Earth. The Earth has 4 layers. We have the crust, which is the outside layer. And then we have the mantle, the outer core, and then the inner core. So we're going to divide it into 4 layers: crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core. So a couple of facts about each one. The crust is extremely thin. We live on it and it's solid, and we said before that this is the lithosphere and it's made of silicon and oxygen. The mantle is underneath the crust and it's made up of hot semi-solid rock. It's sort of known as a plastic mantle. It's like slime, sort of, but very, very hot. So it's not fully liquefied. Then we have the outer core, which is underneath the mantle. This is liquid because it's so hot as you go down into the Earth.
Very lovely result, guys.
Sorry. Thank you, sir. It's mostly made of iron and nickel, which are 2 metals. This iron and nickel liquid is actually rotating, and it creates the Earth's magnetic field. So we got the crust, we got the mantle, then the outer core, and the inner core, which we're going to do last. The inner core is solid, even though it's so hot down there, the weight of the whole planet is pressing on this inner core. It's like the pit of the Earth. So it ends up solidifying, and it's also made of iron and nickel. All right, that's it for this short lecture. I hope you guys learned something from this. And if you would please now complete a short quiz using the iPad on your desk in front of you. Thanks.
Three,
Imagine if it wasn't recording.
1.